Okay, welcome everyone who is showing up. Thank you for showing up here. I've only see a few people in attendance right now, so we'll give it about another 2 minutes. Appreciate the people that are already here. If you could do me a favor and just let me know that you hear me okay in the chat, right? You can either put down like where you're from or say that you can hear the sound okay. Hopefully the chat is the chat room is open to you. All right, Olympia, Washington, great. Thanks for coming, Dan. I appreciate it. We had about 20 or so people registered, but you know how some people say they registered, but they might not show up, but that's okay. We'll have, this will be replayed as well, so it can be downloaded for replay. So, but I'm not going to wait too long because I want to respect the time that people, the people that are here already. So if you hear me okay, let me know that. If not, let me know as well. If you cannot hear, hopefully the sound is okay. Great, thanks. Thanks for your feedback. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, we might have a few more people to kind of crop in as we get going here, so that might happen. So my name is Bakari Shavanu, and I'll introduce myself more in a minute. If you could, I'm going to try to post a poll in there. If you see a little poll, let me know if you are a current user of Day One. I think there should be a yes or a no. Hopefully that's showing up on your side. If you are a current user of Day One, let me, okay, so we have a current user, great. Right. So Dan, how long have you been using Day One? Not sure if you got my message there, but let me know if you hear this message. Let me know how long you've been using Day One. We'll go ahead and get started. This is my first webinar, and I really appreciate you showing up. And it was great to be able to put this webinar together and to learn how to do it. And also, Dan, you bought my book. Thank you so much for that as well. And so, so this is my first webinar, and I really appreciate you showing up. And hopefully other people will be able to download this and check it out. So this is going to be a webinar about digital journaling and using Day One. And I'm very excited about doing this webinar because I think digital journaling is becoming more and more popular, and more people are, wondering about using it and doing it and going from, pen and paper or pen and notebook and going into the digital app. So I'm going to talk about, some of the advantages of that. Let me go over here and click on this. My name is Bakari Shavanu, and I am the founder of the National Journal Writing Month. And I am also the author of Starting from Day One, Using Day One Journaling App to Record and Enrich Your Life. I'm also a freelance writer, and I'm trying to become a full-time blogger. So hopefully that will happen next year. And I'm also a family man and a lover of jazz. So I like jazz music, and so that's kind of how I spend most of my day. Fortunately, I'm able to work from home, so I can listen to as much music as I like. So that's my little background there. And let me kind of go over a little bit about what we're going to do in this workshop here. I'm going to talk about the benefits of digital journaling. And then I'm going to go over the benefits of using Day One. And from there, I'm going to talk about the basic features of day one. And then I'm going to go over a little bit of overview of my book and what that's about. And then any kind of questions and answers, we have a little question and answer session. Well, you can also pop in questions as I'm talking as well. So there's no problem there to do that. All right. So let me give you a little bit of background on my journal writing. I started journal writing back in about 1980s, 79, 80s. And of course, back then there weren't any computers back then in that day. So, but I think I started using my first journal in college in an English course. And I am so happy that the instructor had us do that assignment, had us do that project, because basically I didn't learn anything about writing in high school. I mean, we took a lot of grammar courses, but we rarely wrote anything. And so I had a problem with fluency. You know, I wasn't a fluent writer. And so having that journal and writing in it almost on a daily basis helped me develop my fluency as a writer. And it also helped me back then as a young man, you know, just kind of growing up and trying to figure out things and seeing where I was going to go in life. And so that was my first introduction to that. And I kept paper notebook journals for almost I don't know, 15 years, I would guess. And I kept them up until we had two computers came along. So, you know, so I still have those notebooks in my closet, in a box in my closet. I haven't really read them over again. You know, I've kind of dipped through them a little bit, but not a lot. But it was great to be able to get started with that. But around, I would say later on, after I started using the computer, I got into digital journaling. And digital journaling for me has a lot of benefits, and I've discovered that over the years. And one of the benefits I think for digital journaling is that, first off, is better privacy and protection. One of the things that you will notice on the NaJoWriMo site, my blog site about the National Journal Writing Month, is that I push a lot about the importance of privacy in your journal, that it's important that you have a private space in order to really get in and write about the things that are on your mind, the experiences that you're having, the thoughts, the angst, the challenges that you're facing, without somebody over your shoulder or you feeling like somebody may one day read your journal. There's nothing wrong with writing about journal entries that people may sometime read after you die, or that you might want to pass down to your children or that kind of thing. But you do still want to have a space where you can write and not have to think about that. And I know that's very hard a lot of times for us to be honest with ourselves to get to that kind of honest writing. And so a digital journal is much more private. You can protect it. You can certainly do that with day one. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Even if you use a online journal, it's more private. Because with a paper notebook journal, if you have a lot of people that, you know, if you live with your family, what have you, there's always a risk that somebody's going to open up your journal and just be curious about it and start reading it. So that's one of the big kind of benefits of a digital journal, is it's much more private. You can protect it with a passcode or what have you, and it's just a real private space. Another one of the benefits is that you can access mostly digital apps or online applications. You can access them on desktop or mobile. And so again, you know, back in my day when I was using paper notebook, I used to carry that notebook around a lot, but sometimes, you know, it was just difficult to do that. And so now, by having day one, I always have my journal with me. Either it's on my iPhone or it's on my iPad, or I can get it on my desktop. The only thing that day one does not have is you can't write online. So there are digital apps in which there are online journal applications that you can use online, and that means you can access them wherever you have access to the web and the Wi-Fi. So there definitely good access is a plus. Another one is that I find personally that typing is faster than handwriting. After I started using the word processor back in my early, about my college days, started using the word processor, I really stopped almost doing a lot of handwriting. And for me, it's faster. There are some people that say that you lose a kind of a personal connection when you're typing. I just don't see that. I've compared what I write in my digital journal to my handwritten journals, and I just don't see a difference. And I'm not saying that applies to everyone, but it didn't really apply to me. So I type faster, and I also use voice dictation. I use a application called Dragon Dictate. So those times when I'm really not interested in typing anymore by hand, I turn to Dragon Dictate so that I can just get some thoughts out and not have to really be burdened with typing. Another advantage is the copy and paste text from other sources. I often copy, tweets, or copy emails. I copy excerpts or quotes from things that I come across into my day one. And so that's really easy to do. Sure, you can copy stuff in handwriting, but it's much harder to do that. And so here, this is a simple copy and paste. That's a great advantage for digital journaling. Another thing I'm going to talk about later is with day one is you can tag entries, and some journal apps have multiple journals. That is, they have kind of like multiple folders inside the journal in the app. And that is a really benefit, because if you want to have, say you want to have a travel journal, you might want to have a journal for your kids, you might want to have a journal for your job, you might want to have a journal that's really, really personal. You can have multiple journals really easily rather than having 3 or 4 or 5 different paper notebooks. So in day one, they don't have multiple journal folders, but they do have tags. And I'm going to talk about how you can use tags as a form of multiple journals. And there's, again, if you go online, there's a couple of journaling sites that also allow you to create multiple journals. So it's really great to be able to separate out your journal entries that way. And then another thing is that you can archive and back up journals. And this is very important. Now, of course, all my paper notebook journals are, they're backed up in a way. I mean, they're in a box, they're going to be there. But if something ever happened in terms of a fire or water or what have you, they can get ruined. And so here you can, with digital journals, you can archive them and back them up online. Day one also has its own server now, so you can back it up to Dropbox, you can back it up to the day one server, you can back it up to iCloud. And so if anything happens, you can do that. You can download the backup. And also day one provides numerous backups, so you can have daily backup or weekly backup as well that goes into your computer. So that's really a huge advantage. And then the last one for me is print journals, that you can actually export your journal entries and have them printed out in paper format. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Day one, really, that's a nice feature. Day one, other journaling apps some of them do the same thing. You just export the PDF, and it's really great to be able to do that, particularly if you want to leave some journals behind, or you want to give a journal to your kids or what have you. You can do that really easily. So let me kind of hear back from you so far. What appeals to you about digital journaling? What do you like about digital journaling so far? Hope you can hear me there. Let me know what kind of things you like about digital journaling. Definitely, you can do it. Thank you. Definitely, you can do it on your phone. That is so crucial. When I go traveling, That is so convenient to be able to have my journal on the phone. And sometimes you don't have, like when you're traveling and you're visiting different sites or what have you, tourist sites, you don't always have time to stop and write right then, but you can write some notes in there, or you can snap a photo. And then, when you get some downtime, you can have that, this really convenience right there with you. And it's not something that, hopefully you won't lose. So definitely it's nice to be able to have the phone. It's with me all the time as well, Dan. And I really like that. So yeah, that's a great advantage. Let's move on now. Let's see where we at here. So let's look at the benefits of day one. And Dan, you probably know about this so far, that some of the benefits of day one is that it's a cross-platform application. So those of you that are watching this now or after this replay, it's a cross-platform application in which you can access it. That means you can access it on your Mac, you can access it on your iPad, iPhone, and also you can access it on the Apple Watch as well. They do have a Apple Watch integration, and I haven't used that too much yet, but I'm going to start doing that. But so you have this cross-platform, and the only thing missing with this cross-platform is that day one you cannot write online. You can publish your entries online, but you cannot write entries online. So that means that it kind of means that PC users cannot use day one. So anybody that's using PC really can't do it unless they want to do it on an iOS device or something like that. So I'm thinking that they might be going in that direction, that eventually they might set it up so that eventually it will be an application for online application, because they do have their own server now. So it might be something coming, but it is for Mac users, Apple users, is definitely a cross-platform application, and it syncs really well. Let's go to the next one here. And so, Dan, right now, I think you're the only. I have two other people online, but for some reason they're not responding. But Dan, are you using it on the iPhone as well as using it on any other devices besides your iPhone? Are you using it on a Mac or iPad or anything like that? Okay, great. Yeah, so it works really well on the iPad as well. And I used to use it on the iPad a lot because I had an external keyboard, and so the external keyboard enabled me to write, like when I go to the coffee shop or what have you, or while I'm sitting down and just drinking coffee or whatever. I can do it there. I typically though write on my Mac, and also my I also write on the I write it on my Mac, and also on my MacBook Air. So you're saying you use your Windows laptop as well? You use it on your Windows laptop? How do you do that, Dan? I'll wait. If you get that question, I can look forward and see if you get that question. If you do it on the Windows laptop, let me know. I'll be interested to know how you do that. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. One of the things that I really like about day one is that, okay, you say you don't use it on your laptop, but wish you, okay. One of the things that I noticed, one of the things that really made me choose day one, and I was doing online journaling for a while before day one, but around 2011, this is after my mom passed, I decided to start using day one, and I like it because of it's just so beautifully designed and inspiring. It makes you want to write, okay? And what they do in that is that they take kind of a minimalist approach to the design, so that even though day one has lots of features, those features are kind of, they're on the side or they're tucked away, and the focus is the composition. So one of the things I think is really great about day one, I think the reason why it's so popular, is because of this user design approach. And I think that they keep that in their forefront in terms of when they upgrade or the application, they always think about design first. And the same thing goes for the on the iOS version as well. It's very clean. And again, it's not a complicated application. Again, there are a lot of features that, you might not, realize when you first start using it, but in terms of just the writing itself, it's very clean. Another benefit of Day One and also digital journals as well is automatic dates and times. You don't have to worry about getting your dates wrong or times wrong. It just automatically does that. And I've known numerous times back in the day when I was handwriting that I didn't always date my journals. And I think dating journals, of course, is very important because you kind of want to see how things progress over time. So you can definitely put your dates in there. And you can also change the date of an entry as well. So I've done that several times as well. Like particularly when I'm traveling, I might write a note or whatever, and then or I write a note, another note app, but then I want to come back and I want that journal entry to reflect a particular day or date that something happened. So you can definitely change it up. Okay, and you can also kind of get into you can filter your Day One entries by month and year, and it gives you a little indication about how many days, what days you've entered entries, what days you've missed. So if you really are challenging yourself to write on a daily basis or to build a journal writing habit, this is a really great app to do that, because it kind of gives you a visual of your journaling, your daily journaling, your regular journaling. And of course, also it's great in terms of being able to write in it. They have several different fonts. There's a default font, which I still use. I can't think of the name of the font right now, but and this is not the default font, by the way, but they have a default font, which is really, really beautiful. But you might also want to check in some of the alternative fonts. You can go into the settings of Day One and look under fonts, and you can change the font, you can change the size, that kind of thing. So it's just, again, a very beautiful application for that. You can also get reminders. This is just really great as well. You can get reminders on both the Mac as well as the iOS version. And it's really great because if you're trying to build a journaling writing habit, getting a daily reminder, you set it at a time when you might not be as busy, say early in the morning or late, or say in the afternoon or evening, you can do that. And, I used to use this a lot when I was first started using Day One, because I did want to kind of rebuild that journal writing habit. And so I would have it to go off, a couple times a day, so that if I missed one time, I would pick it up the next time. And on the Mac version, they make it really easy to access your Day One and make an entry from your menu bar, so that if you don't feel like having to open up the entire application or whatever, you can just write something in the menu bar, click save, and move on. So you don't have to worry. You can just get on with your day and know. Or say, is it something that you just want to get off your chest, or you just want to start writing and get off your chest, but you don't want to stop and open the application up? This is a great way to do that. All right, and so you can, on the iOS version as well, you can set a timer to get a notification on your iOS, on your app or your iPhone, to remind you to do some writing. So really great for that. Another thing that I like about this too is the ability to add photos. When Day One was first put out, first released, you could not add photos, and actually I didn't want to use it because I couldn't add photos, and so it kept me from using it for a while. And I thought, until this app has photos, I don't want to use it. Ironically, after they added that feature, I found that I don't use photos as much as I thought I would. But I mean, I do use them, but not as much as I thought. But it's really great to be able to add photos. and it's really easy from doing it from the iPhone. You can also do it from, you can even do it from your Mac as well. You can go into, you can import a photo from your Mac or from your Photos app, that kind of thing. So it's really easy to do that. And it will also utilize the date that you took the photo, and it would, it would ask you if you want to use the date that you took the photo and apply that to make that your entry date. So you can make that choice if you like. So it's really great for that. You cannot at this point, you can only add, you can't add multiple photos to day one. You can only add one per entry. So there is a workaround to that. Somebody wrote a workaround to that, but I haven't had time to read it yet. But I would, if it was me, if I really wanted to have multiple photos, I would just get one of those photo collage apps, for a photo collage app for the iOS or for the Mac, and I would just make a collage of those photos and then import it into an entry as one photo. So, same thing. You're right, Dan. You can do it on Flickr as well. You can upload and do kind of a collage and put it together and download it like that. So there is a workaround, but I do know that Day One is working on that feature to be able to upload or import or take multiple photos for entry. All right, another big feature. This is what I talk about all the time, and I've written about it on my blog site. And by the way, after this, a couple hours after this webinar, I will send you a link to some of the references that I make in terms of links to my blog about Day One. But Day One uses what's called tagged entries, and you can tag your entries. And for me, tagging is just super great for using Day One. And that means that you can tag it, like, for example, when I'm doing NaJaRimo month for last October or last month when we did NaJaRimo, I tagged those NaJaRimo October 15, right? And so all those entries can get tagged that, but I can also add multiple tags to another entry. So it can be about that month, but it also can be about, say, my children, or it could be a topic that's about a book I've read or a jazz song I've read. So you can have multiple tags, and then you can filter your entries by tag. So if I wanted to just filter all my NaJaRimo entries, then I would just go in there and filter it for that particular keyword, and then I can export all those entries, or I can review them or export them to PDF or what have you. So that to me is like having a multiple journals. It's because each tag, I see each tag as a journal. So you notice that I have about 91 entries about books I've read. So a lot of times I write about the books while I'm reading. Same thing about jazz. I have about 90 entries of that. So I can filter, all the entries that I've written about jazz. Same thing about the work that I do. I can filter those. So you can have multiple tags for an entry. And so I really don't need to have kind of journal folders per se, as long as I have tags. But I can see where some people might like that. But anyway, that's just great. Tag I think is the biggest, best feature of Day One for me. I really love it. All right, and you can see an example here of another Day One user. She has her tags. You can notice here, friends and sewing, that kind of thing. And so this is just great. Again, she can just filter those out and review them, or like I said, she can export them to PDF, that kind of thing, and you can look at them that way. I think for me, Day One is really, in this regard, Day One, I'm more likely to go back and reread my entries than I am my paper notebooks, because I can filter out. So that's the reason why I've gone back and read my entries more than I have with my paper notebooks. All right, you can also, in Day One, you can sync your Day One app or entries across to either through iCloud, Dropbox, and now Day One Sync. From my experience, I would suggest that you use Day One Sync because they have their own server. So far, it's been working pretty well. There's been a few hiccups there, but it's important that as long as you're using the backup, you go to your backup in system preferences and make sure that the app is automatically doing backups for you. That's very crucial when you're getting started with Day One. After that, if you're going to use the Day One on more than one app, then I would suggest using syncing it through the Day One. You open a Day One account and you sync it there. The next best option, if you don't want to do that, you can use Dropbox. Dropbox is much more stable. I really never had any problems with Dropbox in syncing that when I was using it before Day One. So if you want to use Dropbox, you can do that. You can always know where your files are. And if you can, you can have more control of them, that kind of thing. I would not at this point use iCloud. I think iCloud is not as stable right now. And there's oftentimes been some hiccups with me about my experience, as well as even with other apps, not just Day One. So I will either go with Day One Sync or Dropbox. Okay. And we also talked about the backup there. Again, be sure that you're backing up on your if you're only using an iOS device, if you're not using a Mac, you need to back it up a lot. You need to back it up to iOS or something like that, so that if something ever happens, if that app gets buggy or something like that, you need to be having a backup so you can pull it down. So if you see here, my backup is daily because I just don't want to lose those entries. So you can do that. And I even sometimes, if I'm thinking about it, I might even export. Well, at the end of the year, I know I do this. At the end of the year, I export all my entries to PDF and just have them backed up at the end of the year. I used to do it every 3 months, but I don't really have time to do that now. But at least at the end of the year, I definitely back up all my entries to PDF. So be sure that your backup is being used and check it frequently to make sure it's working. All right. So if you open up a Day One account, the advantage of that is you can selectively publish your entries online. So, and this is, some people might look at, well, this is a great way to blog or whatever, use Day One as a blog. You can do that. The only thing though is you can share your entries online, but they haven't set it up where people can see all your entries at one time. Only you can see all the entries at one time. So let me see if I have that on here. Yeah, so you can see all your entries and you can see how many people viewed your entries based upon where you shared it. If you shared it to Facebook or you shared a link to Twitter or to Foursquare, people can link and see that particular entry that you share, but they can't see all the entries. So this is not necessarily a substitute for a blog per se. But again, this is beautifully designed as well. And occasionally I will share some entries that I want, some longer entries, particularly on Twitter. When I have some longer entries, I just want to kind of let people know. And I really don't want to put up on my blog, my personal blog site. I just want to kind of put it up there and share it with some people that follow me on Twitter. And you also cannot edit your entries online as well, but you can view them all, but you can't edit them online. You have to edit them within the app. So you definitely want to sign up for a dayone.me account if you haven't already done so. All right, and again, here's another screenshot that will show you, like how many entries you have and that kind of thing. How many, viewed entries, in the dashboard. Okay. We also talked about another thing I talked about advantage of is printing your journal entries. One of a person that I shared in my book, I think he kept a journal for his newborn for I think a year or so, and he selectively filtered those entries and then exported them to, I think it was blurb.com, I believe. If I get the name of it right now, it'll come to. I'll put it in the show notes if I can remember to do that. But I think it's blurb.com or something like that, and you can export that into PDF along with the photos, and then put it into a book form. I did the same thing with the book. I have for my first couple of years of journals just to see how it would look, and I exported mine to lulu.com, Lulu, lulu.com, and exported it as a PDF, and it was very affordable, not expensive at all. And they printed it out kind of like an 8.5 by 11, and it reproduced the entries, just exactly. It was no problem. There was no mismatch of wording or anything. All the pages were there, so it was just really great. I'm not sure if I will leave my paper journal, this book behind, but I just wanted to see how it looks, and it looks great. And I oftentimes, kind of pull it out and just kind of go through it. So again, this is just a great way to go back and reread your journals. All right, so let me stop talking for a minute. Dan, let me know what are some features that you like. What appeals to you about day one? And if you have any questions at this point, let me know as well. And I see we had a few more attendees come in. So if you have any questions, or let me know what kind of features you like here, just let me know. And I'll give it a few more seconds, then I'll move on. I'm very interested in what features you like. Okay, while you're doing that, I want to go ahead and move on, and you can come back. So let me talk about my book. My book is the name of my book is Started from Day One, and it is a iBook, so it's not available in the in paper format. I wrote it because I figured that most people that'll be reading it are Apple Mac users, and so iOS users, iPad users, that kind of thing. So I wrote it in that, and it was just, this is a labor of love for me. It was my first book that I've completed. I've done other longer pieces of writing like PDFs and things of that sort, but this was a labor of love, and it was just great to get this book finally finished. And also, I see a few some feedback for my question. Definitely, Dan talks about liking the clean layout. Michelle talks about the date stamps. Yes, definitely, those are two great, powerful features there. And I like the date stamps as well. I've several times I've gone back and changed the dates of my entries for particular reasons. So, and a clean layout. So yeah, thank you for your feedback. If you have any questions as well, go ahead and put those in the chat as well, so we can also address those. So so my book, it was just a great thing to be able to get done. It took me a lot longer to get it done than expected, because I had a writing job, and it was just trying to find time to write, but I finally got it done, and published it up on iTunes in February of this year, actually. And so it's been selling really well, and it's been great to do that. So if you're not familiar with it, again, it's an iBook, and you would download it. You can read it. You can read an iBook on iPad, and now you can also read an iBook on the iPhone, actually, and you can read it on the Mac. But it's mostly done on the iPad. That's the best, most convenient way to do that. And so so that's the reason why I did it that way. And I hope it looks nice for you. I tried to. I mean, I'm not a professional designer, but I did most of the design and chose most of the pictures myself, and I tried to make it as attractive as Day One as I possibly could. It was great to also be able to get some feedback, some positive feedback from the creator of Day One as well. So here's some of the chapters in the book. I talk about all the Day One features for the Mac in the iOS. I don't talk about the features for the Apple Watch. I may have to go ahead and update the book for that. I also talks about the composition and reading features of those, and those features, some of the features that are not well known, might not be obvious when you first start using it. All right, and I have a list of all the keyboard shortcuts. There are a lot more than you think, so I got those in there. I talk about the tagging and formatting features as well, and how to format text and things of that sort, and how to use tags. And I also have a blog entry about some popular tags that you might want to use in your day one. So I'll put that in the webinar notes when I send it to you. And I also have a chapter on Markdown. I'm not sure if you guys know what Markdown is. Let me know in the chat if you've used Markdown in your day one so far. Markdown is a certain type of sort of like HTML, but it's not as hard as HTML. I do some interactive tutorials in the book about teaching you how to do Markdown. A lot of people, they're not really going to always use it. You can always bold text and italicize text, but there's some other things you can do with Markdown. So I talk about how that works, and I take you through some tutorials in order to do it. And then about the second half of the book is devoted to journaling projects and things of that sort. So different types of journaling projects in terms of projects for like travel, for your family, for a food journal, a work journal. So different types of journals that you can do. And I also talk about this still also on the on my blog site as well, my NaJa Rimo blog site. So those are devoted to journaling projects. And also, if you I think chapter 7 of the book, I have a list of prompts for 30 days, 30 prompts for 1 prompt per day. And now what you can do if you have the latest version of that, you can update my book as well. If you've got the old version, you can take the app and you go on, I think chapter 7, page 67, I believe, and you can get a link to subscribe to the prompts in that chapter. So if you subscribe, you'll get a prompt every day for 30 days. So so that way you don't have to go back and look in the book all the time in order to get the prompt. It will get delivered to you through your email for free. So check that out if you haven't done so already. And so I just talked about that, the 30-day journaling prompt. So that's in chapter 7. And I also talk about how to publish a journal and what steps I went through to get mine published. And I also talk about supporting tools and apps, other apps that support day one and work and integrate with it. So that's kind of the basic outline of that. The second half of the book is really devoted to, again, prompts and projects, so that once you kind of learn some of all the features of the app, I really want you to use that book to get into the habit of writing. Okay, and also, matter of fact, I see your questions, you guys, so I'll answer those in a minute. The other thing is that the day one, the iBook is kind of interactive, and so I started to put some videos in the book, but I didn't want the book to be too weighty in terms of memory. So I didn't quite do that. I saw a couple other iBook authors, like put a video in there, and it winds up being like, a gigabyte to download the book or whatever, or 500 megabytes to download the book. And I really didn't want to do that. But it is a lot of, I have a lot of screenshots in the book, and also have interactive galleries, so you can kind of swipe through the screenshots and tap on stuff to learn about the features, because there's a lot of features in day one that you may not realize when you first start using the app. It just, I know there's some, even when I was writing the book, I discovered a few features I didn't even know. So they're there. And so this is what it kind of looks like. If you tap on certain things on the pages there, things will pop up. If you tap on the numbers, things will pop up. It just makes it easier to read, that kind of thing. It's kind of interactive. I love iBooks, even though iBooks, you can't buy them in terms of paper, but they're great to have anyway. I like iBooks. I hope I'll try to write another book in the iBook format. Okay, so we talked about the digital journaling format, and that's chapter 7. Again, if you haven't subscribed to those daily journaling prompts, do that, because I'm kind of paying for that service, so take advantage of it because it's free for you. So be sure to do that. Okay, so if you're listening to this and you haven't gotten the book, you can go on the iTunes bookstore, and it is, dang, I forgot how much my own book is. I think it's $5.99, I think. And you can download for $5.99, and you can also get a sample chapter for that. I think the first couple of chapters you can download and view those before you decide to buy. And any updates that I do for the book, you will instantly get those as well. So that's the book, and I really, again, I hope that Dan, you said you're already guided, and I'm not sure, Michelle, if you already have it or not, but it's great if I really appreciate you buying it, and I hope that you can get something out of it. Again, it was a labor of love for me, and I'm glad I wrote it. I see that Dan, you say that you have the biggest issue is writing every day, and I know that's a big challenge. And so I've written a couple of blogs about this, but I would say there's a couple of things you can do in terms of, getting the habit. Is first off is, utilize the reminders. That's one good thing to do. Sometimes prompts may help. Some people don't respond to the prompts very well. So, but if you like prompts to kind of get your juices going, I would, utilize prompts. I have the prompts in the book, and also the NaJoWriMo. We have it's every January, April, July, October. In October, I do NaJoWriMo, and we have different themes. So if you sign up for that, you will get those prompts in your email as well. And then I'm also setting up so that people can purchase prompts and have them delivered to the email as well. So responding to prompts is one thing. Another way that I found this might be useful is that you can use what's called journaling projects. So think about a project that you can work on. Say, for example, you're going to journal about your children for an extended period of time, or you're going to journal about your job, or you're going to journal about a goal that you're trying to reach. When I wrote this book, that was certainly a reason to journal a lot. I think I probably wrote more entries in my day one than I wrote in the book itself, actually. So when I was writing that book, I wrote about the challenges I was facing. I was writing about the things that that were working well for me. I was writing about that I keep up with it. And then, quite honestly, there are some weeks and months that I don't really write a lot. So there are times when I just don't write, and because I'm too busy or just don't have too much going on in my life, and so I don't do that. But I do try to not miss more than 2 times a week in my journal. Really, I try to keep it up. When we have the NaJoWriMo months, I definitely write every day. I make that a goal. Of course, that's easy for me to say because I'm the founder of it, and I'm putting the journal prompts out there. But again, that's just one little tool that you can use. And so create some different things to keep your journaling, right? And again, write about, you can do a gratitude journal. I'll talk about gratitude journal in the book as well. Write about things that you're thankful for every day. Do that. So you can always have something that you can be writing about. It does not have to be when, you're just feeling all down and out. I mean, that's good to write about in your journal when you're feeling kind of, really sad or things that you're going through a particular hard experience. Journaling is a perfect tool to help you through that as your personal counselor. But it doesn't have to be just that. It can be for also the more positive things going on in your life. So that's my suggestion there. Michelle, you talked about using Markdown. Markdown, if you get my book, or if you have my book, I'm not sure if you have my book or not, but if you get my book, go through there, or you can also go online and look up Markdown, do a keyword search for Markdown. You'll find several tutorials on how to do that. And it's just kind of, it's fun to know. I don't use it a lot in my day one, but it's something useful to have. And it's really useful in the iOS version because you don't have, the keyboard shortcuts like you do on the Mac, to like, to bold or italicize text or what have you, or to create a bold title or a header, that kind of thing. So, and you can also use Markdown to link your entry to an external photo or something like that. So even though you can import a photo into your day one entry, you can also embed a photo into an entry, but that photo will show up in your day one entry as long as it's online. As long as the embedded link that you use is online, then it will show up in that entry. Once it's taken down, then it won't show up in that entry. So those are the kind of things you can learn with Markdown. If you have any other questions, you two, let me know. I'm here to. We have about 5 minutes left, so let me know if you have any other questions. I really appreciate you showing up, and it was just great. Again, like I said, I have several people register, but I know, things come up and things of that sort. So I will make this available to people who are not able to make it, and we'll also have it as a replay later on. So if you guys have one more call for questions, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. And also, I would appreciate any feedback you have. I think there should be a survey going. A survey should show up in your email. I would appreciate any feedback about this webinar and my presentation. I plan to do some more of these, and I think that the more I do them, the more people that will come into attendance. But quite frankly, I'm glad it was just only a few people right now. So I was a little bit nervous, and so, but it was just great to be able to do this today, and finally learn how to do it. It took a long time to learn how to put it together. Also, if you haven't tried out NaJoWriMo, which is sort of like the novel writing month that's going on this month. This is NaJoWriMo is based on that, and it happens 4 times a year, and it's a month-long challenge to write. And if you haven't subscribed to that site, go to National Journal Writing Month, NaJoWriMo.org, and you can subscribe and be on the mailing list. So definitely invite you to do that. And thank you, Michelle, for your feedback, and Dan, thank you too. I really appreciate you guys hanging in with me and being a part of this experience. And hopefully you are having a wonderful day, and your week next week is great. I know it's like mine is going to be pretty full of things I got to get done, but I appreciate you taking the time to come and visit me here. So if there's not any more questions, I really appreciate it. And write me sometimes at Bakari, C, Bakari, C is in cat, at me.com. You can write me there directly if you like. And I think also my email is also inside my book, as well as on my NaJoWriMo.org website. So feel free to give me write me with questions, or just things of how, some things that you're getting out of the book and things that you like. Really appreciate it. You guys take care.